Morning, everyone. It's incredibly wonderful to be here. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome to actually be invited here. And with you, the crowd, the size, I don't think I've ever spoken to such a huge crowd. What I'm going to talk to you about is branding, but you'll see in a moment that it's not just branding. How many of you here are actually into branding, excited about branding, do branding? Oh, so quite a few. That's wonderful. I was worried that there weren't going to be that many of you. So I'll just tell you in a couple of words how I got into digital, and it's a kind of a flip of a coin story. So after college, when I graduated from college, and I was fortunate to go to college in the States, I had the opportunity to work for a year. There's a special program for people who finish college in the States or university, and you can work in the States for a year. And I had two offers. One was from a direct marketing company. It was based in New Jersey, and the other one was from something that was very new. It was an ad network, an online ad network that was based in Manhattan. And guess what? I chose the other one, so I chose Manhattan and the online ad network, but only because it was in Manhattan. That's the only reason. I kind of assumed that, going with the song, if you made it in New York, then you can make it anywhere. So that's how I got into digital. And 15 years later, what I realized is the digital that we had then is not the digital we have today, right? What we have today is very, very different. And being here yesterday, I'm humbled by what I learn every single day. It's incredible how much knowledge there is, and how much I don't know, and how much we don't know on a daily basis. But the one thing that I really want to make sure you kind of understand from today's presentation, or from what I say, is that I don't want you to be intimidated. I feel that a lot of marketers, a lot of people in business are really intimidated by digital or by what's happening, the transformation. And they come to us for advice, and they're afraid. They're basically afraid of what's happening, which shouldn't be the case, because in the end, it's just a change. It's an evolution, and we need to understand how to fit into that evolution, how to use it to the best. But it's not a revolution in terms of we don't have to change everything we do. We don't have to turn it upside down, and that's what I'm going to talk a lot about. I want to start off on a personal note. I want to tell you that I've actually been here before in Bulgaria. That's me, the blonde little guy in the middle. I was about the age of my son today, so about 4.5, and that was our favorite summer destination. We would go to Bulgaria, and we'd actually drive here from Warsaw. I'm based in Warsaw, and I'm from Warsaw. And this super, super small car, Fiat 126, I don't know if you've ever seen the thing. It's like crazy small. Talk about seatbelts and things like that, right? I mean, at the time, I was just like sleeping all the way in the back, and we made it somehow. So that was my trip, my thing with Bulgaria at the time. Unfortunately, I haven't been here since. So today or yesterday I came. It's wonderful to be here again. And my second memory from Bulgaria, which isn't as positive because this one was super, is Sofia wine. I don't know if you've had Sofia wine that's exported into other countries. It's the worst wine in the world, and I know. I own a wine bar and a restaurant in Warsaw as well. That's my hobby, my passion is wine. And I know that Bulgaria actually has some amazing wines, but why do you actually export that? It's like unbelievable. It's the worst thing. So please export different wines for the future. So why did I actually say that we're not going to talk only about brands? Because what brand building is in the end actually building businesses, right? So we tend to have this notion that branders or brand marketers or CMOs are there to actually do this fluffy stuff. So they create the ads, they create the communication, they put it on TV, everybody's happy, and that's their job. That's totally not true. So if you're a brand marketer, if you're working for a brand, then what you're actually doing is you're building a business, right? What you have to do is you have to get your product into the hands, through the wallets, but into the hands of consumers, and that's your target, that's your goal. Sales is actually your goal. It's not about the communication, it's not about the nice TV ads, they help, but it's actually about selling. So in the end, you're in business. That's why building brands is just like building business, or the other way around. If you're trying to build a brand, look at how businesses are built, and that's a very effective way to do it. So I'm not going to argue with you on what you actually do, because I think you're the best people to know what you do on a daily basis, right? So whether it's knowing your customers, knowing that you need to create great stories and you need to tell great stories about your product, and knowing what actually works for you in terms of communication is what you are best at. So that's something we're not going to touch on, and I actually think that's super, super valuable, and that's something that you have versus all of the other experts that will ever talk to you about digital that they cannot have, right? So you know your clients, you know how to communicate to them, and you know what works. One of the most interesting books that I've read on actually brand building or on marketing is a book by Byron Sharp. It's called How Brands Grow. And what's incredible about this book is it doesn't really, it's an analytical book. It basically uses data to prove certain, or prove or disprove certain theories, marketing theories. And the three things that come out of this book, the real essence is that when you're building a brand, what you have to be doing every single day. So if you just got a job as a brand manager and you were in the CMO's office, it was your first day, this is what he would tell you as a brief for your job. He would say, your job is to actually find new customers for our products. So don't focus on the ones we already have. Focus on competition and get the clients, the customers that are buying our competition right now, especially the light users, right? So don't go after the ones that buy our product 6 times a year. Go after the ones that only buy it once today and increase their usage. 2, speak to all of them very, very frequently. Touch them as many times as possible, but impact, of course, is important in that touch. And especially try to be there just before they make that decision to purchase. And the third thing is make it really, really easy for them, right? So you have to be in their minds and you have to be available to them. And I'll give you 2 anecdotes about this. In the mind. So my son, Cosma, he's 4.5, and we were doing something at home, drawing and cutting things out of paper. And he cuts this shape out of a piece of paper, and he kind of holds it up, and the shape is actually an M. And guess what he says when I ask him, what is this? Yes, he says McDonald's. He doesn't say it's an M for mommy or anything like. He says it's McDonald's. Now, confession, we don't eat too much at McDonald's, but we do sometimes. But for some reason, McDonald's and that golden arch is so engraved in his mind today that the M that he actually cut out was the McDonald's of his life. Second story. I was out a couple of days ago. My wife asked me to get some water for us very late in the evening. Run to the store, the closest store I can find that's actually still open, and we usually use a specific type of water, right? We like a specific water and a specific brand, and they didn't have it. Guess what I did? I bought a competitive brand. So the fact that it wasn't available there meant that I actually chose a different brand. And that's super, super simple. So with your business, with your product, whatever you're selling out there, you have to make sure that people have it in their minds and it's easy for them to actually buy it. It's available, right? It's very close to them every single day. And that's the basis of this book. It's super, super good. I really encourage you to read it. For a lot of marketers, this is their Bible today. It beats any other marketing book that you've ever read and actually shows how some theories that we had about marketing in the past just don't work when you actually put them to test against numbers. I really encourage you to do that. So why did I say that nothing really has changed in terms of what we do? The fundamentals of actually building businesses or building brands are still the same, right? There isn't any huge change in what we need to do. We need to find customers. We need to find more of them. We need to find new customers, right? We need to make sure that we communicate in the right way, that we stand out from the clutter that's out there. And today we know that communication is cluttered more than ever before, right? So we can see the amount of ads we actually touch every single day. I think it's like 50 or something like that ads every single day that we actually have contact with. So it's a huge amount of communication, maybe even more. I probably messed up on the number. But if you whatever you do on a single day, if you try to count the number of ads you actually have contact with, it's immense. And trying to pick out the one that's actually important to you is even harder. So as a brand marketer, that's really your challenge. How do you stand out from that clutter, right? How do you make sure that your ad impacts, that it actually is effective in impacting your user? And then the last point is knowing this, so knowing how to find your customers, knowing how to communicate and how to be impactful. How do I actually grow this? How do I scale all of this knowledge, and how do I make it work? Right? And these are the fundamentals of any business building. And you do this on every single day. And we do this in digital the same way. The only thing that's changed is we have different tools, and we have a lot of new opportunities. I'd compare this to building a house. We build houses in a similar way that we used to hundreds of years ago. We build walls, we build doors, we build windows, roofs, etc. What's changed is the materials, the way we actually build them. We do it a lot quicker now. They're more economic. They're definitely more heat sensitive, or they're better in terms of the heat usage in the future and electricity usage, etc. But they're still the same houses that we would build 20, 50, 60 years ago, although technology has pushed us into a very different age. That's the same story here. This is what we actually do. The one thing that we obviously talk about a lot is that we're online using our mobile phones and mobile devices, but that's not a change in terms of really screens. That's not what I want you to think about. I really want you to think about the behaviors that are changing, right? So what's happened by having access to the web, every single place you're at, with every single device that you have, means that you're basically living online. You're not just kind of entering online. I'm not going to go online, like we used to say, I'm going to go on the internet. You're just there all the time. What that means is that you use or you live your life in a very different way. Some time ago, when you had those blank spaces in your day, when you're traveling or you were walking somewhere and you're in a cab or you had a moment for yourself, you didn't really have anything to fill them with, right? You could take a newspaper, maybe some other piece of a book maybe to read when you're waiting for something. Today, you're constantly online. So how many of you, walking down the street, see something interesting, somebody's wearing something, or they have, or you see an ad, or maybe you see a car or something, and then you quickly check because you have that moment to do it, right? This is behavioral change. This is not something that we would have been doing 10, 5, even probably 3 years ago. The access to the web constantly, the tools that we have in terms of the screens that we have today allow us to actually access anything we really want on a constant basis. So that's a behavioral change. Don't look at the fact that we're doing multi-screen today and we're kind of moving between screens and 90% of people are actually moving between screens when they're doing something on the web. Don't think about that from the perspective of technology. Think about it from the perspective of behavior and what that means for your specific audience, for your users. So when we think about that, what we're trying to do in Google is we're trying to basically build the services, the best possible services for those moments, right? So when you really want to watch something or when you want to know something new. My son keeps asking me about things when we're in the car. We go into a store, for example, and we see some strange, odd-looking fish. We get out, we get in the car, and he's like, Dad, can you check up on that fish and can you show me some other pictures, or can you tell me where it lives, etc. So this is information that wasn't available to me ever before at that point. And that's just an example. We have that all the time. So you can check this. You want to know something. You want to find something. Obviously, you want to search something, or you want to find something that's near you, that's local, that's open, right? We go out. You leave the office, and the first thing you do is think, where are we going to go? I can't forget the discussions that we had at home. What are we going to eat tonight? Whereas what we do today is like, by the time we get home, we actually know what we're going to eat or where we're going to go or what we're going to order, right? It's a very different behavior to that in the past. And then to buy, obviously. So if you want to buy something, then you need to have easy access. We just talked about this. When you're a brand, you want people to have easy access to your product to be able to buy it. So that's the type of services that we build. And those services create these incredible moments, these contact moments where those users, those potential customers, or those existing customers actually interact with potentially your brand or your product or something that's related to your brand, or they interact with maybe a space, a thing that's connected in some way, a sport or a topic or whatever else, right? So those are all those moments, and we need to make use of those moments, basically. Those moments are the moments that matter because they leave these incredible signals to you, right? And we're going to get into this in a moment. And these moments are what you need to focus on in terms of understanding how to communicate to your user in the future, how to build that business, how to touch those people and impact them. And think of it from the perspective of the number of moments that happen and how important they are sometimes, right? You sit down with someone and you look at something and you make a decision. And you make a decision not when we traditionally thought about people making decisions, so at home sitting on the couch, but you make it on the fly over a phone call while looking at something on the web, or vice versa, by just talking to someone sitting there next to them, and you make a decision, okay, we're going to go here, or we're going to go choose that plane or that airline, or we're going to choose whatever this product for tonight, right? So those are all of those incredible moments. And when you think about it, like what you need to really do in the end to put all of this together, we've created this simple formula, or this simple kind of message of how to actually take advantage of all of this, right? So when you're trying to find new customers, focus on the signals that they send, right? Focus on those moments that create those signals, look at those signals, take them in, and use them to be able to actually give the best to your customer. Second area, so when you're actually trying to deliver that message, make sure that that message has an impact. And we're going to go over all of these areas in a moment. Make sure that message has an impact, right? That it's impactful and gets out of the clutter that is out there today. And then the last, obviously, is use scale. So find the scale that you need. Find a way to scale what you're doing today. Whatever product you use, whatever service you use, find that scale to be able to build your business. So how do I find customers? So what we used to depend on when, as marketers some time ago, is usually we would really focus on gender and age and just simple demographics as a way to understand people, right? But demographics are so basic that it's incredible that we still really base so much of our decisions just on demographics, right? Two people who are the same age are not the same people. They have different needs, they have different wants, they actually do different things, interests, passions, etc. So when you're trying to use what's best in the web today, what we realize is what we wanted to be doing some time ago is really today available. It's reality. It's there. It's just there to actually be used. So look at the things of look at what who are the people that are in the market for a product like you? Who are the people that are sending signals? I'm interested in this product. Look at the people that are actually interacting in some way with your brand or with your product or with your service, whatever you're selling to them. And then look at the other customers, look at the other potential consumers that are similar to that, right? So if you have all of this, if you know who's buying and what they've actually done and what their process was and what they do apart from consuming your products, then you can actually very easily find others that are similar to that, so similar audiences that would allow you to use the power of that. So when you're looking for someone in the market, look at this. This is a simple example. L'Oreal was looking at new products, and they're saying, what do we actually get? What's the information that we have? What are people actually looking for? And there's a trend. Suddenly there's a trend. There's a trend for ombre hair. I'm sure the women here know what that is. And they need to jump on it, right? They need to jump on it not only from a communication perspective, but actually probably from a product perspective as well. If there's an interest, if there's a need in the market that's being resembled through this simple signal, I'm interested in something like this. Jump on it and actually use it and deliver the product that specific audience is looking for. Second, when we're talking about choices to interact, this is super important. This is just a screen from an ad. I'm not sure you know, but we have a format that's called TrueView, which works in a way that the advertiser has 5 seconds to entice the user, to get them to actually interact, to choose to watch the ad to the end, right? So if they do choose to watch the ad to the end, then they're engaged. You're impacting them. If they don't, then they're gonna fall back. They're gonna skip the ad and gonna watch whatever they wanted to watch, right? So very powerful tools to actually be able to decide in the end who's interacting or not. And this is a very important piece of information. This is a signal to you, right? They actually watched the ad to the end. They wanted to see this ad. They actually chose to see the ad. This is extremely valuable. And then who else, who is like my users? So this one is, we would probably not share some of this information if we were asked, are you actually looking when you're buying sweets or chocolate or whatever, are you looking for low calorie or low sugar? You probably wouldn't say that, but in the end, you would actually look for it. So this is an important signal to be able to cater to that audience. And taking on that example, we say that mouths are created in the same way, but people have different tastes, right? Me and my wife, for example, we always argue. I'm more of a sweet taste. She's more of a not a sour, but I forget the word now, but she's just not sweet, right? So, you know, on white cheese, for example, I would put honey on it. If you had it for breakfast, she'd put salt on it, right? So that's the difference between us. Now, when you're talking about specifically chocolate here and low-calorie chocolate, there's two potential groups that are interested in that, right? One is, for example, gamers, and the other one is people that are calorie conscious. Now, if you didn't have these signals, if you didn't read them correctly, then what would you do? You'd probably market to both of these people in a very similar way, right? You'd be marketing a product with one piece of communication, and you'd probably be missing on both because neither of them would be able to actually understand what you're trying to say to them. So use those signals in a way that actually gives you the ability to communicate better with those users. How do I deliver that impact? So the first thing, this is the second big challenge that you have. So now that you have the signals, you understand what those consumers want, you really need to be impactful. The first thing with impact, obviously, and there's a very nice English saying is, if a tree falls in a forest doesn't make a sound, right? So, you know, if there's a piece of communication that's out there but no one actually sees it, doesn't impact anyone, well, obviously it doesn't. So you've probably heard a lot about this whole discussion that we have in digital today about viewability and the fact that over 50% of ads, of display ads, are not actually viewed by anyone. They're out there, but they're not really viewed, which is kind of interesting how we've led the whole industry to that, and it's a really big challenge for us, you know, and products with a viewability element to them, so the ability to actually buy a view where you're paying for the view and you know that it was viewed are going to be more and more important. But the fact that you need to actually touch those consumers is the basis. So you need to be able to actually reach them, right? Now, if they choose your communication, for example, through a product like TrueView or any other that you could actually buy on the market that has this choice element in it, there's going to be a lot more impact. So if you're trying to make sure that your communication is impactful, then give that consumer the choice. Let them choose your ad. Let them choose your communication to be able to speak to them before you actually pound them with anything that you want to say. And two, which is really important, is time. Time is not restricted anymore. I think you had this message yesterday that storytelling, you know, takes more time, and you can actually use that time. There are studies out there that show that the optimal time or size of a message, length of a message right now is around 2 minutes. So, you know, if you're trying to communicate, people love 2 minutes as the most effective really way to communicate to them. So this is your chance, again, your opportunity. With everything that we do today, with those blank spots that we have when we enter the web and we're living it there, we actually have the time to consume this. You don't have to, you know, communicate in bursts of 15, 30 seconds anymore. You can actually communicate in much longer way and be extremely effective with it as well. This is one example. It's just it's an always ad. Like a Girl has 3 minutes and 19 seconds long and has 5 million views. A lot of that obviously is created by media, but people actually watch this ad, right? Watch the ad for the full length. And then you really want to know how this impact is, you know, if the ads are actually doing anything, right? So traditionally in digital, you'd be used to the fact that you're really measuring on numbers, so on CTRs and clicks and even views, right? Those are things that you'd measure. But if you're a brand, if you're really if what matters to you is the impact element, then you want more than that. You need to know if this piece of communication sent to this specific person actually impacted them. Did it do anything with their recognition of the brand? Did it, you know, grow the ad awareness? Did it grow the actual brand awareness as well? Or did it even entice them to actually go out there and look for your brand, right? That's what you're interested in. So we're building tools around that as well. Google is really passionate about this and the measurement. So we have a product called BrandLift today that's already measuring based on an exposed and non-exposed groups the impact that your ad is having. And I'm sure that there's going to be more of this coming out in digital or used in digital in ads, because the metrics that you're really interested in, the metrics that really affect what you're doing, are not only views or they're not clicks, right? They're a lot deeper than that, and you need a lot more powerful information to be able to say, did this impact, did it work or not? This is an example of an ad by Trident, and the way Mondelez actually used it, and they used brand lift as a product. Is they had two versions of this ad, right? This ad is with it's for Trident is a chewing gum. It's a really well-known Brazilian actor, and the ad was obviously for the Brazilian market. And there's two versions. One is the actor puts the chewing gum in his mouth in the ad, and the other one is that it starts with the actor actually chewing the gum already, right? And they tested both of these ads. They used the brand lift product. They tested these ads on a very short period of time, so basically a week. They run them simultaneously, and they tested them against each other. And they found that the one that the actor has the gum in his mouth already is more effective. So it gives them better brand recall and better ad recall, and they went with that ad for the rest of the campaign. Now, this is something you would not be able to do anytime in traditional media, right? Traditional media, you'd run a campaign, a couple of months later, you'd get some studies that would show whether it was effective or not. Today, you can actually do this on, in real time almost, during the campaign, and modify the whole campaign. Another example I'll give you, which is, I think, wonderful, is a Sprite campaign. It was from Russia. And what they did there is they actually built more versions. They had an ad that they wanted to test the beginning, the first seconds, the middle, and the end. And they basically created versions, 3 versions of each. So 3 of the beginning, 3 of the center, 3 of the end. They multiplied this. They created all of these ads. They tested them on a week, and then they actually created the best from the best beginning, the best middle, and the best ending, right? And then that's the one that really ran. And they put that one actually on TV because they knew that was the ad that was going to have the biggest impact. So being able to measure that is super, super important. And last point, obviously, is scaling, right? So how do you actually scale, and what do you use? Now, what we do is we really focus on our users, and we try to make sure that the products that we build are so user-friendly that people come and use them without us actually having to entice them to do it. So the importance there is that we have incredible reach. Google globally has incredible reach. If you're looking at a global market, locally in most of the markets, we have great reach as well. Whether it's YouTube, GDN, search, whatever product you want, or whatever touch points that you really need to look at, most of them will have incredible reach. Globally, close to 3 billion users. But if that's not even enough, if you're not satisfied with that in terms of you don't really want to focus only on the Google products that we have, then we also have the platform. We have DoubleClick, and through DoubleClick, you can buy a lot of other products, a lot of other media, including Facebook, Twitter, ads that are soon to come. I know that someone from Twitter is going to be speaking in a moment, so I'm interested to hear what they say about that as well. And just to finish up, so the challenges have not changed. You as marketers are doing what you've always been doing best. You're finding customers, you're building impact, or you're trying to achieve impact, and you're building scale. And what we believe that you should be focusing on when doing that is, 1, picking up the signals that are out there, using the signals that are given to you in a very effective way, building advertising that has impact, and measuring that towards impact, not just towards clicks and views, but actually how does it impact your brands, how does it impact the business and the way people view your business, and finally scale it, right? Use all of the tools out there to scale as much as you can. Thank you very much for your attention. It's wonderful that you listened to me. I know I went over time, so really sorry as well. Thanks.